Hi and welcome to this introductory video on the SCQF Level 8 Diploma in Project Management. The awarding body for this qualification is EL. This is going to be an introductory video to this award. We'll go through the various components, have a look at the optional units and the enhancement units, get a bit of an understanding about who this award is for, what sort of job roles it suits, and we'll get into the sort of structure of this qualification. So if we get started, first of all, what is an SVQ? An SVQ is a vocational qualification, so it stands for Scottish Vocational Qualification. This is different to the sort of education you might get from a high school, a college or a university, depending on your background, and that the emphasis for this qualification is on the performance of skills in the workplace rather than a knowledge and understanding focus of understanding theories and being able to apply them in an essay or under an exam condition. Although that being said, there is an exam and essay component to this award. However, the emphasis is more so on the ability of the learner to be able to perform these skills, and what you'll be doing is gathering evidence using various methods to prove that that is the case, that you're able to perform these skills in the workplace and that you're competent at it. Modern Apprenticeship offers those over 16 paid employment with the opportunity to train for jobs at craft, technician and management level. Not everyone who comes on to this programme will come straight from education. It's not the case that this is a qualification just for those who are leaving school. I find that there's a lot of people on this qualification who are experienced and they've either got experience in a different role and they've moved into a project management environment, or they've been working in a project management environment but they're looking to upskill, gain some additional training to progress in their career, in which case this programme is very suitable for people from those sorts of backgrounds as well. Modern apprenticeships are developed by Sector Skills Councils, or SSCs. They consult with employers and key partners in their sector to produce a training programme which meets the needs of employers. So the framework and the individual units are developed by these Sector Skills Councils. Sector Skills Councils contain representatives from training providers, from the awarding body and from employers. They all get together on a somewhat regular basis every few years, and they have a look at the competencies of someone within a particular role. So for this framework it's project management, so they say what sort of competencies should someone working in a project management role have, and that's what they use to then develop the units. So what that means is that the units should be fairly up to date, they should be very relevant to someone working in a project management role, and there should be a decent selection of units for you to choose from to get through this course. It's a vocational competency-based qualification. Like I said there, the emphasis is on the performance of skills in the workplace. It's not really that much about understanding theory and understanding knowledge and being able to apply that, although project management, this SVQ, is a bit different in that it does have an exam and an essay component, which we'll come to later on. There's three main components to any SVQ. The first is a relevant competency-based qualification, or SVQ, so that's CBQ or SVQ. The second component is core skills, and the third component is enhancement unit or industry-specific training. So project management, this qualification is an integrated qualification in project management which includes requirements for both technical knowledge and practical competence. It's designed specifically for those wishing to embark on a career as a project professional and is the equivalent of a first year of a degree. It covers subjects such as principles of project management, project stakeholder management, project communications, managing project risk, managing project scope, and managing project finance. So that there gives you a bit of an understanding of some of the optional units which you can choose from. There's a wide variety of roles which this qualification would suit. People working in project management offices, people who are working as a project coordinator, support roles for project management. But either way, anyone on this programme should be working within a project management environment. And essentially what a project is it's anything that's got a start date and an end date. So it's any sort of business change that's got a start date and an end date, and it's to contrast with sort of business as usual. So that's sort of the other end. So if you take a business, you can split it into two halves. Most of the business will fall into the business as usual category. That's where you find most of the functional teams. You'll find that an organisation hierarchy is split in, is kind of organised around this business as usual, and managers within this function typically deal with the recruitment of the team, managing key performance indicators, and that team will be responsible for completing certain tasks or processes, but it will be the same tasks and the same processes those people are responsible for completing many times over. However, within project management, it's all about business change. If you think over a long period of time, new software comes out, new processes come out, new rules and regulations, there's new technology. Businesses need to update and keep on top of this, and that's where project management come in. It's about managing that change to the business as usual processes and integrating that into the organisation. So if you're working in a role which involves managing a project that has got a set start date, it's got a definite end date, set duration, and it's about something that's sort of one-off or unique in some ways, then this is a great program for you to be able to understand and manage that process. There's project management skills shortages. This has been identified by Scottish Building Federation, Aberdeen and Grampian Chamber of Commerce, Oil and Gas UK, Lloyds Banking Group and OPITO. So there's a bit of a review done on the economy as a whole, and we've identified that there is a number of skill shortages within project management. There's more than 250 billion is spent on projects in the UK every year. So there's a lot of business, a lot of industry, there's a lot of employment in this sector. However, it has been identified that there's a skill shortage, and that's why this program was developed, was to be able to overcome that skill shortages by getting people trained up at a somewhat entry level into this industry. So when we say entry level, you may be experienced, you may have a few years experience in project management, but it's about increasing that experience that you've got. It's about increasing your competency in this role. There isn't really, when it comes to getting into project management, and I'll speak more about the link with the APM, the Association for Project Managers, later on, when we look at Unit 1 and the examine essay component of this qualification. But when it comes to project management, there's not a lot of alternatives for people who are getting into the industry to get on that first step to chartership. To get onto this chartership with APM, typically the first step is to do the PMQ exam, and that is usually aimed towards people who have a number of years experience in project management. However, doing this qualification gets you, by the end of it, associated with the APM, gets you on their first rung of membership there, and in that sense it's a great opportunity for people who are coming into project management to get started onto that route. The programme's aimed for those working in job roles such as project managers, project coordinators, project executives and project support officers. Okay, so what will you get out of it? You'll get a number of certificates for completing this award. Okay, so the first one you'll get, the biggest certificate you'll get, covers the most ground, is your Modern Apprenticeship Certificate. That you get for completing the 3 separate components of this award. So you complete the 3 components, you get your Modern Apprenticeship Certificate. That's issued by the Sector Skills Council. Second certificate you're going to get is the SCQF Level 8 Diploma in Project Management. The awarding body for this award is EAL. There are many different awarding bodies out there. For Scotland, most of you will have heard of the SQA, which is the awarding body which accredits high school and college courses. EAL is an English awarding body in England. It's a bit different in they don't have the one awarding body. They've got a couple of different ones, and EAL's one of them, and that is who is the awarding body for this qualification. And you'll also get your career skill enhancements as well for completing your additional your career skills units, which are the third component. So core skills, career skills. Career skills are basically core skills at a higher level. And the fourth thing you're going to get of this is a portfolio of evidence which demonstrates your competence in your role. This is very useful for any sort of internal training and development that you're completing, any sort of monthly one-to-ones, for yearly appraisals, probation reviews. Great to have that portfolio of evidence that shows the sort of work and the sort of tasks that you've been able to complete. Sometimes I've also heard of people using certain aspects of their portfolio for recruitment processes if they're going elsewhere, even internally, they're able to show off the sort of work that they've been doing in their role. There are some progression opportunities once you complete this course. There's a number of routes. I will say that not all of these routes are going to be available to everyone, so it will depend on your particular situation, the organisation and industry that you're working in, whether this is suitable for you. To give you an idea of the sorts of progression opportunities that are available once you complete, the first one everyone should be getting, which is to progress on to a career within your chosen industry that you work in a project management environment. You may also have a look at doing management modern apprenticeship at SCQF Level 11 if at that time your job role allows for it. So if you're doing those sorts of tasks, that is a progression route for you. It's another step up in terms of the level of the qualification. You may wish to go into full-time education at college or university at HND or degree level courses. That will of course depend on entry requirements, vary from colleges and universities. You may look to do some business related undergraduate degrees or other business related professional qualifications from professional bodies such as Association of Project Managers, or depending on your industry and your career, there may be other ones that's more suitable for you. You may also specialise in a particular role, so that's a progression opportunity that you may specialise or get promoted within project management. So you may be looking to go into senior project manager, project lead, portfolio manager, program manager once completing this. But again, that all depends on your individual circumstances, your individual competencies and industry and organisations. So this is the SCQF framework, and this is a way of having a look at where this qualification sits in terms of its difficulty and the level that it's at when comparing it with other qualifications which are available in Scotland. This qualification sits on the column to the far right there, apprenticeships and SVQs, and it's at SCQF Level 8. If you have a look along there, you can see that at the same level, it is the same as an HND, which is the certificate that's issued at colleges, and it's equivalent to a Diploma of Higher Education, which is sort of first year university level. So that's where this course sits when you're comparing it with other qualifications. Okay, so let's have a look at the overview for this qualification and look at the different components that needs to be completed. The duration for this qualification is 24 months. Now that will vary from learner to learner. Some learners are going to get through this course quicker than that. May get it done in as short as maybe a year would be really pushing it, maybe 18 months. Some learners, depending on their circumstances, it may take longer. There's no set deadline, so this is something that's maybe different from, say, perhaps college. There's no set deadline. You complete once you get through all of the work. So there is opportunity, if there's a good reason for it, to extend your expected completion date beyond that 24-month mark. There can be many sort of personal reasons, health reasons. There could be your circumstances might change. You could be changing employer or the projects you're working on. There could be a lot of change, difficulties, setbacks, whatever there might be within there. Those are all good reasons for having to extend your end date. The key thing to take away about duration and about a lot of decisions around deadlines and timings for this qualification is it's each portfolio is different, each learner's different, you're all in different roles, and so portfolios are going to be individual to yourself. And in that sense, there's no set date, so it's all going to be different. It's all going to be down to your situation, your circumstances. But we would expect that this qualification will be completed within 24 months. So you've got your modern apprenticeship, so that contains all the three components. So let's have a look at the first component. This is your Diploma in Project Management at SCQF Level 8, awarded by EAL. This is your competency-based qualification components. This is your CBQ or your SVQ component. This is split into two sections. So the first section is your mandatory units, and there's 3 mandatory units which you have to complete. Everyone who's on this framework must complete those units to get this award, to get this component of the award. They are quite broad, so there's a wide number of job roles that will be able to fit that. To give you an example, one of them is project communication. So if you're working a project management role, everyone's going to have to be able to demonstrate competency and being able to communicate. Second part of this section is your optional units. You must select 8 optional units from the framework. to achieve this component of your modern apprenticeship. That will total up to 88 credits. We'll go through the framework a little bit later on, and I'll go through some of the optional units which you might look to choose from. You've then got your enhancement unit, which is the second component for your modern apprenticeship. Again, we'll explain this in a little bit more detail later on. Enhancement unit is essentially a unit which is from a different framework, so to sort of broaden the units that you get to complete on this qualification. And the final section is your, you might hear us refer to as core/career skills. So your career skills, because it's SCQF Level 8 qualification, you need to do career skills because core skills only go up to SCQF Level 6. So you're doing this qualification at such a high level, you can't do your core skills, they don't go up that high. You'll be doing your career skills, and there'll be a list of career skills units with which to choose from to do as well. You must do 15 credits at SCQF Level 8 or higher. So you can't do any that's lower than any units that are lower than SCQF Level 8. You must do 15 credits. Then you also must do 2 units, at minimum of 2 units. So if you do one 15 credit unit, you'd still have to do an additional unit because you need to have two units plus the 2 units have got to total up to 15 credits or more SCQF Level 8. So let's have a look at the framework. So this framework will be issued to you. If you haven't been issued with it or you don't have it, you can also look it up online. Just go to any search engine and have a look, search up SCQF Level 8 Diploma in Project Management Framework, and you should be able to find this online. You'll see it split into a number of columns. It will outline the unit code, it'll tell you the title of the unit, the SCQF level, so that is the level on that framework that the unit sits on. So each unit, just because it's a level 8 qualification, you may be doing units which are at a higher level, you may be doing some levels at a lower level, but the overall qualification sits at the level 8. And the credit value column on the end there. So credits, what credits mean, they are a representation of how long it should take to complete each unit. So 1 credit should equal 10 learning hours. And learning hours is not just the time it takes for you to complete assessments, for you to write up your personal statements, to be in classroom learning. It is including the time it takes to learn, the sort of process, the skills that you have to do to complete that unit, and to actually perform those skills in the workplace to such an extent that you can be determined as being competent at it. So that's not how long, just because unit says 30 credits here, that doesn't mean you need to spend 300 hours working towards that unit on the assessments. It includes the time it takes to actually learn those skills, to, perform them in the workplace, and then also assess them. So these three mandatory units. Principles of Project Management, that's Unit 1. We'll go into that more detail later because that's a bit of a special unit, that one. Your other one is Project Stakeholder Management, so that's being able to identify, manage, prioritise certain stakeholders and understand their impact on the project. And project communications is, as it sounds, being able to communicate project documents out to stakeholders, to be able to update it, to be able to plan out what communication you're going to have, when you're going to communicate it, the method you're going to use to communicate those that information or those documents out to stakeholders. Okay, so we'll move on now to the optional units. So you must select any 8 optional units from this list. You will notice though that there are only 10 units to choose from on this list, so it's more so a case of choosing the units which you don't cover in your job. Okay, so you want to choose the units which are most relevant to your job role, the tasks that you complete as part of your work. If you think about it, this is about demonstrating that you're competent at performing these skills in the workplace. So if it's a unit that you don't really do in the workplace, it's going to be very, very difficult for you to get that evidence. It's going to make it a lot harder. So you want to pick units which align closely to your job role. We'll go through these. As you can see on the end there, SCQF level and the credit value. Wouldn't worry too much about these when it comes to picking units. Just focus on the title of the unit and focus on the criteria within that and whether or not you complete those tasks in the workplace. If you want to see a bit more information on each unit, I can only go over a sort of high level overview of each one here. I don't have the time to go into them in a lot of detail. You can either look it up online or the unit guides will be provided to you. So if you've been provided to you, you'll have the unit guides and you can have a look through those and you can see the specific criteria, specific points in there that you would have to cover in the workplace. and that might help you choose between, if there's two you're thinking I'm not too sure about these, which one I want to do and which one I don't want to do, have a look at the unit guides, check what it's looking for you to do, and if you think you do more one than the other, go with the one you do more of. You can also look these up online as well by using any search engine and searching up the, usually it's the unit code or the name of the unit, and that you should be able to find it that way as a PDF online. Okay, so first unit on this list is business case, project structure and progress monitoring. Business case is all about coming up with a case, a reason why this project should go ahead. What is the project? What's its expected benefits? How much is it expected to cost and how long is it expected to take? What is it the business is going to get out of it? And from that, a decision is made as to whether it's a good idea to take that project on and commit to it. Project scope's about managing the scope of the project, managing the boundaries, what are the activities, the tasks that are actually included as part of this project and what's not included, so that the project doesn't overburden itself with taking on too many responsibilities and tasks. Because if you get a project, a lot of time a lot of people will try and put in what they want into the project, and you end up going over budget over time because you're getting too much has been thrown into the project, and it fails. Managing project schedule is all about estimating timescales, working out the order timescales have to be complete, working out the order that tasks have to complete, putting it all together into a network analysis and into a Gantt chart. Finances is about calculating obviously the finances, how much it's going to cost, when you need the finances for, where you're going to get the finances from. Managing project risk is about what can go wrong in a project. It's about identifying early on what are the risks, what can go wrong with this project, what are the risks which are going to have the most impact on the project, what are the risks which are most likely to occur, and what are the contingency measures that we can put into place to prevent those risks from happening, and if they do occur, what can we do to minimise their impact. Managing project quality is about the standard of the project and its outputs. So to what extent does the output of the project meet what you set out to originally do. Managing project resources is all about the finances, about the money, it's about the equipment, it's about the people and the skills that are required to complete the project, estimating how many you need, when you need them for, and being able to monitor that they're being used up correctly. Contracts is all about managing the contract phase of dealing with suppliers to get all the resources that a project will require. Unit 12 and 13 are a little bit less technical, and they deal more with the sort of softer skill set that's required to be a project manager, so they are very good units. Providing leadership and direction for your own area of responsibility. That's not about providing leadership for a team, that's just about you're going to be, as a project manager, a project coordinator, you're going to be responsible for certain tasks, and it's important that you're able to contact your stakeholders, explain to them what needs done, when it needs done, how it needs done, what reports need to come back to you, and you are leading within that area of responsibility that you're given, you're taking the lead. Plan, allocate and monitor work in own area of responsibility is all about keeping track and monitoring that the work that you're doing, the work that you're allocating out to other people is on track and on schedule. So those are the units, and of those 10 units you must select 8. So it could be a good idea to have a look at those, see what ones you like, see what ones you're interested in most, see which ones align closely with your job role. That way, when you have a meeting with your assessor, you've got a bit of an understanding of the sort of units you'd like to do. Okay, so Unit 1 is the Principles of Project Management. This unit is a little bit special because the assessment methods that's used for this unit is very different to the assessment methods that's used for the rest of the units. For the rest of the units, use your typical assessment methods. It's the same for all SVQs. But for the principle of project management, it's a bit different, and that is because this unit is the link with the Association of Project Managers. So to explain this properly, you need to understand the difference between EAL, who's the awarding body. So an awarding body is a bit like the SQA, so they're the people who actually create this award, they design the qualification, and they're the one that actually issue you with the certificate for this framework. APM is a professional body, so that stands for the Association of Project Managers. They're a bit like the Institute of Chartered Accountants for England and Wales, or the Chartered Management Institute, and they are a professional body of people, so their members all work within that industry. And they issue out a sort of, if you're a member of that body, you can put it on your CV, you can do certain qualifications through APM, and eventually you can gain chartership. And so APM and EL have come together regarding Unit 1, and this is where the link is. So the qualification has been designed by EL, but for Unit 1 you'll sit an APM exam because EL have contracted to APM the exam component. And that's a good thing because that means that APM recognise this exam that you sit, and once you complete this qualification you'll get a letter of compatibility which says that you have passed the equivalent of the PMQ. So for all intents and purposes you have passed that PMQ exam, which allows you to become an associate member of the APM. So that's why this unit's a bit different. So this unit's assessed by completing an exam and also by completing 4 written essays or reports. So you don't have to do any other assessment methods for this unit. That is the only way this unit is assessed, and because of that it's all knowledge based, so there's not any performance points in here. It's all sort of based on knowledge, so writing those essays and completing the exam. And it is the first step on the route to chartership because you get that associate membership of the APM. So your essays, there's 4 essays, they're split into 2 assignments, so each assignment contains 2 essays, and they must be written in either a full essay structure or alternatively, if you prefer, they can be written in a full report structure, depending on how you're going to answer it, what you're answering it on, and which structure you're most comfortable on. Okay, so there's 4 essays, and you've also got the exam as well. So this exam is similar in structure, although it is a different exam to that PMQ exam. You can find a lot of information, a lot of resources online about that PMQ exam, but keep in mind it is a different exam. With the PMQ exam, there's 4 question types. There's explain, describe, list and describe, and state. Sorry, let me get this right. There is a describe, list and describe, state, explain, and determine in PMQ. And in this APM exam, you have all you're missing out on the last type, which is the determine, which is the one we actually have to carry out a calculation. So for this APM exam, you've got the most difficult question. We actually have to calculate something out. You don't have to do that for that exam, so it makes it a bit easier. The pass mark is also slightly different, and the number of questions on the paper is different. You get 16 questions for the PMQ exam, and for this one there is a selection of 12 questions, and of those questions you must answer 10. So that's a bit of information on the exam. It's also paper based, so unlike the PMQ, you cannot complete this exam remotely. Perfect. So moving on now from that first component onto the second component, so your enhancement unit. So this is the second component of this qualification. An enhancement unit is simply an additional unit from another framework, and it must be at SCQ Level 3 or SCQF Level 6 or higher. So that's obviously less than that SCQF Level 8 that this qualification is at. And the unit that you select should be relevant to the learner's role. Okay, so that's one option. The other option for this enhancement unit is you could do one additional unit from your SCQF Level 8 Diploma in Project Management Framework. So on that list of optional units, where there was 10 optional units, you could choose to do 9, in which case that 9th unit will count as your enhancement unit. Alternatively, you can select any other unit really from another SVQ framework at SCQF Level 6 or higher. Now it's a bit impractical to provide you with a list of all the units you could possibly do because it wouldn't be much use to you. There's so many units you can choose from. It's more so going to be a case where you're going to be discussing with your assessor the sort of tasks you complete in the workplace, and then they can identify a number of options to see which one you'd most like to do and is most relevant to your role from this. But they should probably be units which is relevant to your role, so probably project management related. So units to do maybe from the management framework about innovation or business change. You might choose to do an IT unit which is about maybe using project management software. There could be units about analyse and report data and information. Really depends on your role and the tasks that you're completing in the workplace. So now we have a wee look at the career skills. So this is now the third component of your SVQ. So the requirements to fulfill the career skills component is that you must complete a minimum of 15 credits at SCQF level 7 or above. And the full list can be found on Appendix 4 of the Skills CFA Framework document. So that is the framework document which will be supplied to you. Massive list on there. This is only some of them to give you an idea of the sorts of units there. And as I said earlier on as well, you must select a minimum of 2 units. So if you choose, say you choose plan change, that's a 15 credit unit, it says there on the end. If you choose that unit, you'll also have to do an additional unit as well, because you must do a minimum of 2 units. You can't just do 15 credits all in the one unit. But there is a number of units there. You can have a wee read through them. Most of them are fairly obvious what they're about, and it gives you an idea of the sorts of units that you can do. If you want to look up any of these units, if you search up that unit code followed by the letters SQA, because those are SQA units, you'll be able to find a PDF online, and it will outline the unit, a description of what that unit's about, and the criteria which you'd have to complete. Brilliant. So thanks a lot for listening to this. Hopefully this gives you a bit of an understanding of the different components of this award, and the main takeaway is that you'll be able to have a look at those option units, identify which units that you like and is relevant to your role for your meeting with your assessor, where you're going to be picking what units you want to add to your framework. So brilliant. Thanks a lot for listening.